If the problem you're having is that the washer is not filling properly, do the following test. Set the temperature switch on the warm-cold setting and the timer on the regular cycle, and pull the knob to start the filling cycle. The washer should start filling with warm water. If the washer only fills with hot water or only fills with cold water, if the water just trickles in or the washer won't fill at all, you will need to check the following parts. Replacing the water valve filters is done the same way on the newer and older style washers. When the washer takes forever to fill, water just trickles in, you will need to check the water valve filters. The filters sometimes get clogged with sediments. Shut the water faucets off and remove the two fill hoses. You could use a skinny screwdriver to remove the two water valve filters. After removing the filters, clean them if you can. If you can't, just replace them with new ones. If the filters are too bad, you could just throw them away and use this type of filters. Remove the rubber washer and install one of these rubber washers that has a built-in filter on it. Now all you have to do is install the two fill hoses and try the machine. If after replacing the water valve filters and knowing for sure that the water pressure to the washer is good, the water still trickling in, you will have to replace the water mixing valve. How to check the water mixing valve solenoids for continuity. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Shut the water faucets and remove the fill hoses. Remove the water valve assembly and turn it around. Remove the white wire from the bottom solenoid. Take a reading between the two terminals on the bottom solenoid. The reading should be between 500 and 900 ohms. Connect the white wire back and let's check the top solenoid. Remove the white wire from the top solenoid. Take a reading between the two terminals on the top solenoid. The reading should be between 500 and 900 ohms. If the reading is infinity on any of the two readings, you will need to replace the complete water mixing valve assembly. How to replace the water mixing valve. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Shut off the water faucets and remove the fill hoses. Remove the water valve assembly. Remove the water mixing valve holding plate. Remove the wires, keeping in mind the location of the wires, blue on the bottom solenoid and orange on the top solenoid. Loosen the hose clamp and remove the hose from the water mixing valve. Then take the water valve right out. Install the hose on the new water valve and tighten the clamp. Install the wires on the solenoids, the blue one on the bottom solenoid with a white wire, the white wire on the top solenoid, and then the orange wire. Install the holding plate, then install the water mixing valve assembly into the machine and secure it with the holding screw. How to check the water valve fuse. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Remove the controls panel holding screws. Grab the controls panel and put it behind the machine and let it hang by the wires. The fuse is located on the lid switch assembly. Disconnect the white wire from the fuse holder. Take a reading with your ohms meter between the two terminals on the fuse holder. The reading should be 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity, you will need to replace the complete lid switch assembly, and here is how you do it. Remove this holding screw. Lift the lid switch assembly and remove it. Leave all the wires attached to the switch assembly. This is the way that your old lid switch may look like, and this is the way the replacement will look, just a little different. This is a lid switch actuator, and it goes between the lid switch and the check switch. Insert the lid switch assembly tabs into the slots in the cabinet and align it. Screw in the holding screw just tight enough that you can move the lid switch assembly forward. Grab the lid switch assembly and move it forward until you hear the switch click on. Hold it in place and tighten the holding screw to secure the switch in place. The tabs should be about in the middle of the slots. Open the door slowly halfway and you will hear the lid switch click. Finish opening the door slowly and you will hear the check switch click. Remove the wire from the old switch one at a time and connect them to the new switch. This way, when you finish, all the wires are connected to the right terminals on the new switch. Install the controls panel and the holding screws. This is basically how you check the water temperature switch on most old-style washers. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet before proceeding. When you select cold on the water temperature switch, according to the wiring schematic, contact 7T and 3 should be closed. Remove the blue-black wire from terminal 3. Take a reading with your ohms meter between terminals 3 and 7T. The reading should be 0 ohms. When you select hot-cold, according to the wiring schematic, contact 7A and 4 should be closed. Remove the orange-black wire from terminal 4. Take a reading with your ohms meter between terminals 4 and 7A. The reading should be 0 ohms. When you select warm-cold, according to the wiring schematic, contact 7T and 3, and contact 7A and 4 should be closed. Take a reading between terminal 3 and 7T, and terminal 4 and 7A. The reading should be 0 ohms on both readings. If the reading is infinity, the water temperature switch is bad and you will need to replace it. Let me show you how to check the water temperature switch. There are many different types of temperature switches in use today. Since I don't have all the switches, I am going to show you on the one I have. You will need to use the wiring schematic that comes with your washer to find out what contact should be closed for each setting. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Set the water temperature switch on the warm-cold setting. According to the wiring schematic, there should be continuity between terminals 7T and 3 and 7T and 4. Remove the controls back panel to get access to the water temperature switch. Remove the white wire from terminal 7T. Take a reading between terminal 7T and terminal 3 with a yellow wire on it. The reading should be 0 ohms. Take a reading between terminal 7T and terminal 4 with the orange wire on it. The reading should be 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity in any of the two readings, the water temperature switch is bad and you will need to replace it. Set the water temperature switch on the hot-cold setting. According to the wiring schematic, there should be continuity between terminal 7T and 4. Take a reading between terminal 7T and terminal 4 with the orange wire on it. The reading should be 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity, the water temperature switch is bad and you will need to replace it. Set the water temperature switch on the cold setting. According to the wiring schematic, there should be continuity between terminals 7T and 3. Take a reading between terminal 7T and terminal 3 with a yellow wire on it. The reading should be 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity, the water temperature switch is bad and you will need to replace it. You could use a spatula to remove the knob. Now be careful you don't scratch the washer. Put it under, pry a little bit. Once you could grab it, just pull it right out. Remove the wires from the switch. Make a notation of where each wire connects to. To remove the switch, use a screwdriver, grab the switch, push on this tab, and take it right out. To install the switch, make sure you have it the right way, center it, and push on it until it snaps in place. Now all you have to do is install the wires. White connects to 7T, yellow connects to number 3, and orange connects to number 4. All you have to do now is install the knob and you're done replacing the water temperature switch. Let me show you how to check the water level switch. Make sure the washer is disconnected from the wall outlet. Remove the controls panel holding screws. Open the controls panel and tape it in this position. Here's a view of two different water level switches. And here you can see the hose that is attached to the switch. Disconnect the gray wire from contact number 7 on the water level switch. Take a reading with your ohms meter between contact 7 that you removed the gray wire from and contact number 15 with the brown wire on it. The reading should be 0 ohms when there's no water in the machine. If the reading is infinity, the water level switch is bad and you will need to replace it. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Let me show you how to remove the knob. Take a spatula and put it under the knob, pry a little bit, and pull it right out. Remove the controls back panel to gain access to the water level switch. Now let me show you how to remove the switch. The first thing you needed to do was to remove the knob. So with the knob out, let's remove the wires. Next, you need to remove the holding screw. After removing the screw, Take the water level switch out and remove the hose. Take the new water level switch, connect the hose, set it in place, and put the holding screw. Connect the wires to the water level switch. After you're done replacing the switch, all you have to do is install the knob. Let me show you how to check the timer contacts in the fill cycle. Set the timer on the regular cycle and pull the knob to turn the timer on. In order to know what contact should be closed inside of the timer during the fill cycle, you will need to check the wiring schematic. According to the wiring schematic, contacts SW and 7T should be closed inside of the timer. The way that I check this out is by following the wires from the timer. SW goes all the way to the lit switch wire harness, and 7T goes from the timer to the water temperature switch. Disconnect the wire harness from the lit switch. Stick one of your own meter test probes into the terminal of the wire marked SW on the lit switch wire harness like this. Remove the white wire from the terminal marked 7T on the water temperature switch. Connect the other test probe from your own meter to the terminal on the white wire marked 7T. This is the way you should have it. One test probe into the white wire marked 7T from the water temperature switch, and the other probe on the terminal of the wire marked SW from the lit switch wire harness. The reading should be 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity, the timer is bad and you will need to replace it. Let me show you how to replace the timer. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Remove the controls back panel. Remove the cap. Remove the knob holding clip. Remove the knob. Remove the spring. And remove the dial. Remove the 2 holding screws. Disconnect the lit switch wire harness to make it easy to remove the timer. Grab the timer with your right hand, and with your left hand, grab the timer wire harness connecting block. It has 2 tabs over here, one here and one here. Press on the tabs and wiggle the timer until you get it out. Disconnect the ground wire and remove the timer. Grab the new timer and connect the ground wire. Grab the connecting block with your left hand. Line it up in place and push, and make sure you got a good connection. Set it on and put the holding screws. Connect the lit switch wire harness. Install the controls back panel and go in front of the machine and finish installing the dial, the knob, and any other part that needs to be installed. Install the dial, install the spring, install the knob, Install the knob holding clip and install the cap.